Humans are weird. Nike. The word was spoken in such a dull, lifeless tone that it shook the rather rotund officer out of his stupor that was half bureaucracy-induced and half the result of the storm that was cracking dangerously over his talons. Commander 3 Clicks's wing hook paused over the report he was writing out, and he twisted his head to look at the young officer huddled on the floor. He had known that the field team had returned. He was not so deaf as that, despite a long-ago battle having shorn 2 of his rebounders off the top of his head. It had left him horribly scarred and flightless, but the remaining 8 worked just fine, thank you very much, and he could get a nice feel for the safe hold from where he hung in his office. Is that how an officer greets his superiors nowadays? 3 Clicks demanded sharply. Lieutenant. He had to squint a bit as the younger officer's fur was mussed far beyond regulation. Come to think of it, he might not be able to fly safely, if at all. And 3 Clicks felt a stirring of unease even before the lieutenant reacted. The dark red wings rose in a shrug, releasing a waft of strange and slightly unpleasant smell. Human. 3 Clicks realized belatedly. Maybe. I don't know. It's important, I think. Commander 3 Clicks felt his fur bristle and he raised his wings in irritation, but something stopped him. It was partly the dull look of resignation in the lieutenant's black eyes, partly the complete lack of reaction, and partly the result of the commander's torpor, fuzzy mind finally catching up with the clues that were filtering into him. He had not heard the troop carrier that had taken the flight out return, and yet they were back. The storm was breaking both over the valley their safe hold was in and the mountain slopes that the flight had been sent out to explore. They had been warned that they might encounter humans there. Lieutenant 5 Trill! 3 Clicks began, dropping down to the floor and coming close to drop a wing over him. Is your flight safely returned? The young officer looked up at him dully and flicked his ears uncertainty. Every wing that left with me has returned alive, he said carefully. Injuries are non-fatal and healing well. That is a very specific report. 3 Clicks observed, even as relief flooded through him, and he guided the younger officer over to where a small bottle of leaf water from the homeworld sat beneath his perch. He poured out a glass of the drink for 5 Trills and watched as the officer drank it with almost frantic eagerness. What happened? 3 Clicks asked gently. We lost the transport about 5,000 glides from the safe hold, 5 Trills replied, accepting another serving of water. We had landed it at the base of a cliff to examine the surface for possible temporary holds. Private 10 Clicks stayed with the transport. 3 Clicks flicked his ears forward in acknowledgement. That had been their mission. We had taken observation on about half the face when a rock was dislodged above us, the younger officer went on. I ordered the flight to retreat from the cliff face and... 5 Trills shivered and wrapped his wings around himself. It was a cascade failure. Like in a computer system? 3 Clicks asked, laying his ears back in confusion. 5 Trills flicked his ears in confirmation. Each rock hit another and dislodged it, and before we knew what was happening, the rock slide had engulfed the transport. It was buried under a mass of rock and detritus with 10 Clicks inside. 3 Clicks rocked back on his talons and stared at the younger officer in horror. We landed over where we thought the transport was and tried to move some of the rocks, but... 5 Trills held out his wings, and 3 Clicks could see that the manipulating ends were torn and scabbed with the attempt at the impossible task. Private 27 Trills suggested that as we couldn't contact the safe hold, we try to make contact with the human camp that was supposed to be in the next valley over. 3 Clicks flicked his ears at that. Spying on their new neighbors had been one of the secondary missions of that flight. We made contact, and the human technician there was eager to aid us. He was able to dig out what was left of the transport by the time the sun set. It was badly compressed, but we could hear that 10 Clicks was somehow still alive in the cockpit. Then the human, he pulled out one of those tools they always carry, and he just tore the transport apart. 5 Trills explained with a few demonstrative twisting movements of his manipulators. 10 Clicks was injured, not fatally, but he wasn't flying anywhere. That was when we remembered that the storm was coming. The human saw our distress and said that he could take up back to his base camp. All he had to do was summon his transport early. One of those whirlwind blades? 3 Clicks asked eagerly. 5 Trills shrugged his wings absently. I do not know. That was when we discovered that some native fauna had taken out the communications array at his camp. We knew that we would not be able to survive the storm without a hold, and the human had a hard copy visual representation map, so he decided to take us back here to the safe hold. But you said he had no transport. the commander interjected. He had a harness, 5 Trills explained. We held on to it and he did that human movement, the one they call running. 3 Clicks stared blankly at the younger officer for several heartbeats. You are saying, he said slowly, that this human carried you and your entire flight. He carried 10 Clicks in a sling around his neck, 5 Trills interjected absently. 10 Clicks couldn't hold on to the harness on his own. 5,000 glides in the past day? 3 Clicks pressed on. Actually, it was just over 5 hours, 5 Trills replied. 3 Clicks rocked back again and cast his mind about. Thank you for the report, soldier, but you should be in the medical bay, he said firmly. Just holding onto a harness moving at those speeds for that long must have been exhausting. I will need to speak to this human. That might be difficult, 5 Trills interjected again as he let himself be led out of the room. Has he left in the middle of a storm? 3 Clicks demanded. No, 5 Trills clarified. When we arrived in the safe hold, he was leaking blood out of his mouth and nose. He asked us was everyone alive, and when I confirmed it, he did that things humans do where they show all of their teeth. Then he said Nike and collapsed on the ground. The medics are trying to figure out if he is still alive. 5 Trills looked dully up at 3 Clicks. I said I thought it was important. Humans are weird smiley faces. Quartermaster? 57 Clicks approached the undulate cautiously, staying safely above his gripping range and circling slowly. It wasn't like there was active hostility between their species, not like the hostility that burned low and fierce between the winged kin and those earth crawlers. No, one had to be careful with undulates because it was just so easy to miss each other. 57 Clicks' small body and his quick flitting motion made him as hard for the quartermaster to perceive as it was for the winged kin to see the slow-moving lump against the floor. Ah, 57 Clicks, the quartermaster said, as he raised several sensory-rich appendages to find 57 Clicks in the air. I have a request, 57 Clicks stated quickly. I would like to be assigned the lighter mobile vices. I would like to exchange all of my current supply for the new type if possible, but even one would be a benefit to my work. The quartermaster was quiet for a long period, but his raised appendages waved gently in the air. 57 Clicks shifted in agitation as he waited for the slower undulate to process his request. Forgive me, the undulate said when he finally dropped his appendages. I am unaware of any difference in the mobile vices save for the standard size variation. The ones that come in multiple color schemes and have a significant portion of the flat gripping surface removed for weight concerns, 57 Clicks explained. What leads you to believe that such a thing is in our stores? The quartermaster asked. I have not seen such a thing. Human Smith had several in the common room today, 57 Clicks replied. The undulate expanded out his appendages and then relaxed them in a gesture that translated to a sigh very well. Of course it was a human, the quartermaster said glumly. I can assure you no such item came through our base supplies. Human Smith must have ordered it personally, 57 Clicks said in sudden understanding. He gave a disgruntled chirp and landed on a high shelf. Perhaps if you bring me an example on the item in question, I can order some for a feasibility study, the quartermaster suggested. 57 Clicks took off again in delight. That was the thing about having undulates around. They were so good at figuring out ways around things. He darted back across the base and begged to borrow one of the mobile vices from Human Smith. Smith handed it over easily enough, admonishing him to bring it back. 57 Clicks flew the bright red folded metal back to the quartermaster. This! He called out, holding up the vice. The quartermaster took it in his gripping appendages and twisted it this way and that, humming thoughtfully. I do not know that I could justify this, he finally said. These 3 cuts sacrifice quite a bit of strength, and the weight saved is negligible. Maybe negligible to a land crawler, 57 Clicks snapped. Every gram counts when you have to carry everything with you on your wings. Could you get the initial justification from the human? The undulate asked. Surely they did a feasibility study before altering their design. Humans made these things? 57 Clicks asked in surprise. I thought we did. No! The undulate waved a gripping appendage in dismissal. The humans developed these to hold their documents together. Their actually designation is binder paper clips. Very well, 57 Clicks said. You just need me to get the formally stated logic for the modifications correct? Yes, specifically why the metal was punched out in this specific pattern. the undulate said, waving the vise to display the 3 holes in the metal. I cannot determine what structural purpose it serves. 57 clicks sped out and returned far more slowly, radiating so much annoyance and befuddled irritation that even the quartermaster noticed it. Were you not successful? He asked. Humans, 57 clicks muttered as he landed on the shelf. Did Smith not have access to the justifications? The quartermaster asked. No, 57 clicks said curtly. Did he know the justifications? The quartermaster prompted. Even a colloquial understanding might give me enough to get a study justified. Oh, he knew, 57 clicks said with a sigh. The quartermaster poised his gripping appendage expectantly. The 3-hole pattern, 57 clicks explained, is a smiley face, and the justification is that it was cute. A long moment stretched between them. Humans, the quartermaster muttered. Humans, 57 clicks agreed. Well, I will try, the quartermaster offered. But I advise you now, not since the Clathbeast incident has any feasibility study been justified because of human perceived cuteness. Thanks anyway, 57 clicks said glumly as he flew off. Maybe he could trade for one of Smith's. Humans are weird, a little thing. You seem particularly cheerful, Ranger Dodge, Twistunder commented as the human strode up to the jeep. That I am Twist Buddy. That I am! Survey Corps Ranger Mac Dodge confirmed as his long, jointed limb lifted with a terrifying ease to toss his backpack into the vehicle. Twistunder rotated his body, appendages spread out as far as they could go in what humans called his wet mop phase. The last lingering rays of sunlight turned his skin a dark amber that seemed to meld into the green of the Jeep's hood. Mac was taking his time to organize their tools in the cargo area, so Twistunder felt comfortable lingering in the sunlight. What has pleased you so much? Twistunder asked after a moment. Mac hummed over the netting he was securing over the gear. Well, Mac finally said, you know that the inspector is here? Oh, yes, Twistunder replied as he inched across the hood, following the sunlight. Did you interact with him? Yep, Mac replied. He swung by in one of those flyers, the insulated little biodome ones. Twistunder could have laughed derisively if he had felt like sharing his contempt of the soft-appendaged bureaucrat with his friend, but as close as he and Ranger Dodge were, one didn't flush your fetid algae around friends. So Twistunder only gave an interrogative hum. Anyway, Mac continued as the last beams began to slip off the side of the Jeep, and Twistunder gave up on his bathing. He was watching me hammer in the probe spikes and complimented me on my handiness. Twistunder climbed over the windshield and dropped down into the driver's seat. He secured the protective restraint around him and secured the steering wheel with his primary gripping appendages and held out his secondary appendages expectantly. Nice try, Twist, Mac said as he opened the driver's door. Move it! Twistunder gripped the buckle of the restraints and a brief scuffle ensued. Mac tried to simply lift him out of the seat by force, and Twistunder couldn't resist humming in amusement when Mac gave a grunt of frustration. Humans might be able to drive 10-centimeter-long spikes into solid rock, but no species beat an undulate for gripping power when they didn't want to give up their place. Come on, Twist, Mac demanded. We've been over this. I am not letting you drive. I passed the test, Twistunder said in his most logical tone. I am certified. You passed the written test, Mac snapped. Your species is not meant to hurtle along at driving speeds. And yours is? Twistunder asked. He lifted one gripping appendage to tap the controls. Correct me if I am wrong, but this speed indicator goes much higher than, what is your maximum running speed again? Faster than yours, Mac said. He gave up pulling and flattened his hand against the seat back, sliding it down until he gripped the base of the restraint. Twistunder divined his plan and decided that cheating was in order. He freed about a quarter of his appendages from the seat, at which Mac gave a cry of triumph and dug them into the human's ribcage and wiggled. Mac howled in frustration but somehow continued to wedge Twistunder off the seat. You are developing your resistance to tickling, Twistunder observed as Mac shoved him over into the passenger seat. Not that I have much choice in the matter, Mac muttered as they fought one final tugging war over the seatbelt. You little bugger. I do wish to develop this skill, Twistunder pointed out as he finally buckled himself into the passenger seat. And your charter does call for exchanging information freely. It also calls for not getting people killed, Mac replied as he started the engine. It can't be more complex than flying a glider, Twistunder pointed out. They have a max speed of what? Mac asked. 10 or 15? So the inspector complimented you? Twistunder asked. Mac shot a sideways glance at the change in topic but continued driving. My handiness, Mac said, and a proud smile replaced his irritated look. Twistunder folded his appendages under himself thoughtfully. You refer, of course, to the fact that you are almost as proficient in tasks with both sides of your appendages? Yup, Mac replied, grinning wide enough to show his teeth now. You are a decorated Survey Corps Ranger friend, Mac Dodge, Twistunder said carefully. Yeah, Mac replied. That means you have achieved honor in the disciplines of both body and mind at the highest level, Twistunder went on, proud to remember the humans separated the two, such a strange concept. And so? Mac asked. Why are you so pleased over recognition that your appendages all function properly? Twistunder asked. And why did the inspector think to compliment that? It might be a little thing, Mac said with a shrug. But I worked hard to bring Lefty up to par, and I'm proud of it. Why wouldn't he compliment it? Did you injure your left appendages seriously? Twistunder asked, raising a few sensory-rich appendages to examine his friend. What? Mac frowned. No, right, you guys don't go in for bilateral symmetry, so you don't get bilateral asymmetry. No, it's unusual for humans to be able to use both hands equally. We have a dominant hand and a non-dominant hand. Ah, Twistunder replied. That is interesting. I suppose the inspector was briefed on this and was showing off his knowledge of human anatomy. Could be, Mac replied. Another question? Twistunder asked. Shoot, bud, Mac said. Do you name all of your appendages? Twistunder asked. Uproarious laughter was his only reply.